Welcome to another episode of Out of Spec Dave, where today what I wanted to do was take a little bit of time and just kind of explain what has happened over the last month or so and what I think is going to happen over the next month or so. There's been a lot of car transactions, a lot of talk about car transactions. There's been a lot of road tripping and a lot of sort of complaints about CCS and praising of Tesla and NACS and all of that. And it's funny how everybody is like jumping on me on one side and jumping on me on the other side. Look, I'm my own guy. I do what I want to do. I mean, I'm not advocating anyone even buy an EV. If you want one, get one. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm just sharing that with all of you. This is the Out of Spec Dave channel. But so what I thought I would do is just kind of go over a little bit about my Tesla Model 3. I really haven't talked much about that recently. The sale of my Lucid, what does that mean? Am I going to keep the Model 3? Am I going to get something else? And then Kathy and I, we're going to be putting together a series of 4 videos, 4 or 5, that are going to really be for novices to educate them about, you want to buy an EV? Now that you have an EV, what do you do with the EV? Just from Kathy and my perspective. So let's get into this sort of multi-pronged video today. I hope this maybe closes up some end loops. Now, don't hold me to everything I say in this, because you never know. Things can change. The only constant in life is change. Let's get into it. So here I am in Rowayton, Connecticut, a beautiful little part of Norwalk. And doesn't this car look great right here, there in the water? I mean, there's some amazing boats. We had an incredible rain here last night, but it's all nice now. And I thought I would take my little Model 3. This is the rear wheel drive. It's a 2023. It has the LFP battery pack in it. And I gotta tell you, I just love this little car. I drive this one pretty much every day to work. I really feel super nimble and comfortable in this car. I mean, it takes a little bit of, like, I'm 6'5". I do fit in this car very well once I'm in the car. As a matter of fact, I fit better in this car than I do in the Model S. But you know, look, this is my daily commuter car that I really like to drive to my office. I'm only about 6-7 miles away from my office. It's an underground concrete parking lot that I go to, and it's pretty tricky. You don't want to hit the concrete poles, and this one is, this particular car is super nimble, and it's real easy to maneuver around. You know, it's a great grocery getter, and it's just a great little car. The value of these cars right now, now today is quarter end. It's September 30th. And the discounts they've been having on these cars are you know, $4,000, almost $5,000 in some cases. And you can pick these up really cheap depending on the state you live in and depending on whether or not you qualify for the federal tax credit. I mean, you can really get this car, I mean, really cheap. So, you know, do your own homework, check with your own tax consultant. But I can't say enough good things about this car. Now, is it perfect? No. Is it as nice as some of the other cars that are on the market? Look, here's the deal. There are so many great cars on the market. The ID4, the Kia, the Hyundai, the Genesis. I mean, there's so many cars that are great out there. For my use case, this particular car is not one that I necessarily would take on a road trip. Although I've driven it up to Boston a couple of times and back with no issues. I tend to charge this at home on my level 2 charger, which is great. One of the nice things about this battery pack is that even though it only has roughly 270 miles of range, you can charge this car up, according to Tesla, to 100%. Because it doesn't seem to damage the battery. Now, when you think about the long-range Model 3 or even a performance Model 3, they're great, they're really amazing, but they only have about 315 miles of range with the larger wheels. And so if you're only able to charge those up, I think Tesla just recently updated the recommendation to, I think it's 80% now instead of 90, then you're actually going to have longer range with this car than you would with a performance. But look, for a daily driver, any of these cars are great if you're going to charge them at home. You don't have to rely on the DC fast charging network. You know, a lot of you know that I was very unhappy with the CCS network, whether it's, you know, Electrify America or any of the others, EVgo or ChargePoint, just in terms of the locations of them and the availability of them and how many of them there are. It's just a challenge for me to think about. Whereas with Tesla, it's just so easy. The NAC superchargers, whether they're V2s or V3s, they're everywhere. I mean, they really are everywhere. And the seamless, the way with which this car integrates the navigation and tells you where to go, you don't really need to use any apps. You know, you've got battery preconditioning, you've got en route planning, and you've got and plug and charge, which I think are the three most important things for any EV to have. And this is a great, really kind of just a bread and butter car. You see a lot of Uber guys using these things, and just they're workhorses. They're really great. Now, are they quiet inside? Are they great riding? I mean, you definitely can find better cars out there that are much more, you know, probably well built, if I'm honest. You know, the seams, everyone talks about the seams, but this particular car is good. The first one that I had the exact same car. The seat squeaked. I had noises in that thing. I was trying to work all of them out, but the economics were so good earlier this year that I just traded that one in and got this one, and this one's been great. I go over big bumps with it. There's this one section of road by my office that's notorious for a lot of bumps, and you know, this thing is tight. It's really tight. So now this car will charge at a maximum of about 171 kilowatts, as opposed to, let's say, my wife's Model Y, which on a V3 will pull about 250. The charging curve, once you get to around 50%, whether it's in my wife's Model Y or this one, it's probably right around 105 kilowatts that you're pulling, and then it tapers off from there. But if you're doing DC fast charging or road tripping, I wouldn't hesitate to take this car anywhere on a road trip. It's great. You know, the things I don't like about this vehicle, the ease with which it's to get in and out of it. You kind of plop down. Once you're in, it's good. I don't love the trunk. It's kind of like the Lucid. I wish it were a liftgate or a hatchback like the Model Y, but it's not. The wheels don't bother me. These are the 18-inch with the aero covers on them, and I think it looks okay. I got the black interior on this car, and it's really, it's been a great car. So just to summarize, I love this car, so why not just keep it, right? Why not just keep this car? And after selling the Lucid, now the Lucid has found a new home. It's out in California now, and I sold the car in 2 days. I think I was realistic on the price. Clearly, I was very transparent with the buyer, with anyone who wanted to buy that car. They could look at all the videos. They could see exactly how that car was used. It was driven, but that car is seriously a great car. And, you know, for me, again, you have to realize that I bought that car as our ultimate road tripper for, you know, the longest range and the fastest charging. And really what it is some people say, hey, Dave, the CCS network isn't bad. I think it's bad. I think it's really bad right now. Now, on occasion, I have good charging sessions at CCS, and my Lucid was an amazing charger at certain locations. But even when you find a good charger, oftentimes, especially during the weekends or peak travel times, they're jammed up, and they're just not enough of them out there on the major routes that I go. So one good thing about the Lucid was I was able to drive that car all the way up to Boston and back here from Fairfield County, and I didn't even have to charge. So that was great. I love that sort of use case for the car. I mean, you could drive that thing from, I think, LA to San Fran, stay in a hotel in San Fran, and then, you know, level 2 charge it there, and then go home the next day if you want, and you can avoid CCS or DC fast charging altogether. So look, I will miss the Lucid. The Lucid was, I know a lot of you people say, oh, I just bought it to make content. I really didn't. I bought that car because I loved that car, and it was my dream car. It really was. But I just couldn't handle the anxiety of the charging because I do so much road tripping, and I plan on even doing more road tripping. So Lucid's gone. I will miss it. It's an amazing car. Someday I may get another one. We'll see. I'm sort of interested in the Gravity to see what Lucid can come out with that car. I think that's an amazing car, and we'll have to check out how that goes. But in the meantime, you know, I said to myself, I really was a little bit disappointed when we heard that the Model 3 refresh or Highland was not coming to the States until next year. And I was really, quite honestly, just thinking, you know what, I'm gonna trade this car in on a Model 3 refresh or Highland. And the fact that they're not going to be coming out until next year is something that I was a little disappointed about, and quite honestly a little shocked they didn't bring it here first. But they're not bringing it here. So in the meantime, I went over a couple weekends ago and I test drove the Model X. Now, years ago, I had a Model X. It was a 60D, it was a 2016, and that thing had horrendous range. And it was a bit, you know, it was an early production model. The doors were a little bit creaky, and I still talk to people. Today I ran into a guy here in Darien at the Supercharger Network, and he had a 2022 red, not the ultra red obviously, but a red Model X, and he was complaining about the doors on his car, the Falcon Wing doors creaking, and you would think they would have gotten it right by now. Something, in my opinion, that those doors are super over-engineered. But in any event, he said, look, you know, he paid $120,000 for that car in October of 2022, and he just ordered a brand new Plaid with a 6-seater for 89 grand. And so, you know, he loves the car enough to order another one, and they gave him 65 grand as a trade-in for his car. Now, the delivery for his car is going to be, it said early December to mid-January for his car. So, and he's getting an ultra red. So there are, maybe one will pop up as an inventory car. We're not sure, but you know, these X's seem to be in a little bit more demand now that they just lowered the prices. So, you know, what intrigued me to go drive the X a couple weekends ago was, quite honestly, the price. I mean, in January of this year, the Tesla Model X, just the base one with the 20-inch wheels, and back then you could only get it with a yoke. Now you can get it with a round steering wheel. But that car, that Model X, was $120,000. It's now $79,990. Call it $80,000. And if you qualify for a federal tax credit and you get a base Model X with no options on it, then you're going to be able to get an additional $7,500 federal tax credit. Again, if you qualify, it depends on your tax situation. So think about that. I mean, and they're also including the ultra red paint, you know, with no upcharge. Normally, or just a month ago, you would have to pay $3,000 for the ultra red paint. So if you're buying the car for literally $40,000 less, and then you get a $7,500 federal tax credit, and then you're not having to pay $3,000 upcharge for the ultra red, that's over $50,000 less to be able to buy that car. So that's what got me out to drive the X. And quite honestly, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna wait for the Model 3 refresh. I think, yeah, I came out of a Lucid, it's a really high-end car, but I'm telling you, these Model 3s are just so good. And I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait for the Model 3 Highland, but let me test drive the Model X. And for those of you that maybe saw the video when Kathy and I went and test drove the Model X out on Long Island, the honest truth is, I was very pleasantly surprised with that Model X. And because the price is where it is, I put an order in for one. And I've got a delivery date of November 9th all the way through December 21st. And we'll see what happens if it comes in. Now, in the meantime, we're waiting, as we all speak here, for the Cybertruck launch day. I just saw the other day, the clothing has been sent out for all the Tesla employees for the launch of the Cybertruck. And so you know they're imminently going to be launching that Cybertruck, and there's got something like 2 million orders for the Cybertruck. Personally, the Cybertruck is not for me. I know Kyle's interested in getting one, but you know, for me, that's not something I want. But the other thing is, I wonder if maybe there's going to be a surprise announcement at that Cybertruck event where they may talk about the Model 3 Highland, or refresh as we're now calling it. Maybe they're going to say, all right, here's the date when it's coming out, and maybe they're going to come out with a Model 3, perhaps a Plaid, or perhaps a performance model, because they didn't announce the performance model over in Europe or in China. It's just the LFP, the rear wheel drive, and then the long range. So, and if they juice up that Model 3 performance, maybe I would get one of those. We'll see. I mean, I don't really drive that fast. Kyle teases me that you don't need a performance, just get the rear wheel drive, the cheap one. But back to the Model X. So I just wanted to kind of do my diligence and drive it and check it off the list and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I had one of those. I don't really, but when I drove that vehicle, I have to tell you, I fell in love with that windshield, the execution of that, of the whole seating arrangement and the way with which the doors open and the doors shut. It is such a, in a weird way, even though it's not a luxury vehicle like a Mercedes EQS or, you know, or even the Porsche Taycan, it's just built, it's German build, let's be honest. I mean, the Teslas they're great utilitarian, they're great technology, everything about them is great, but they're not built quite to the standards of a Lucid or some of the German cars that are out there, or even the South Korean cars. And I mean, they're good, but you know, we all know people complain about the little idiosyncrasies of Teslas and all of that. And I get that. But, you know, to me, what overshadows all of those shortcomings are things, simple things for me, like dog mode for Bailey, or the ability to not have to ever worry about when you plug in at a, you know, at a Tesla supercharger. And the good thing about a Tesla that I really like is I'm going to continue to test out CCS because I can, right? I have the Combo 1 adapter and I can go test out anything I want anytime with a Tesla and see how things are going at CCS, whether it's Electrify America or any other networks. And I want to keep tabs on what's happening with the CCS network, and I will do that. And I will do that with an adapter. But the thing is, you can do that today with an adapter. You don't have to wait for, you know, for Ford or any of these vehicles. Oh, by the way, that Ford F-150 Lightning that I got, I love that vehicle. I just, you know, $92,000 for, I don't really need a pickup truck. That's the thing. But it's beautiful. But rode great. Best stereo I've heard in a long time in that Ford F-150 Lightning. Really quite incredible. But back to the Model X. The Model X, I just really fell in love with that vehicle. And I remembered that helicopter-like windshield and the way with which those visors, sun visors, actually tuck away and they don't get in your way when you're driving the vehicle. It just works super well. The thing does 0 to 60, I think, in 3.8 seconds. It's a big, heavy vehicle. It's not a small get-around town vehicle like this. It's a little bit different, but like I said, I'm planning on doing a lot more road tripping, and with the range that car has, which is, I think, about 348 miles or something like that, EPA rated. But the fact that it has the network there and it charges fast and charges very reliably, I looked at the price. Both Kathy and I, we looked at each other, we're like, wow, this Model X is really something to behold. And so we put an order in. So we'll see what happens. I mean, right now we're excited about figuring out when that's going to when that car is going to come in. And now I put in for a trade on this car. I don't need 3 cars. Kathy's going to keep her Y. You know, there's a contract for that. I mean, who knows? Maybe she'll fall in love with the Model X and she'll say, you know what, Dave, maybe I should just drive the Model X to work every single day. And then you could go ahead and get a Model 3 Highland. I'm really not anticipating that happening. And I know there's a contract that I can't sell the Model Y for 3 years. But, you know, if she were the one to actually bring that up and decides to do that, am I going to stop her? Probably not. You know, the Model X will become our road tripper for sure. If she keeps the Model Y, she'll daily that thing, and then I'll use the Model X as my big road tripper. But you know, this car, this Model X, is going to really complement, I think, the Model Y. You know, luckily we're in a position where we can maybe take advantage of this lower price of the Model X. It's quite possible that they're trying to blow out all the inventory of the Model X's, right size their supply versus demand, and they may raise the prices again on the Model X. I mean, I don't know. That's just pure speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be super happy if I bought one and they did that. More power to them. But, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Now, one of the other things about the Model X is that Kyle is very much looking forward to borrowing that vehicle to do some testing. I know he wants to be able to trailer. He bought a couple of small EVs that are scattered around the country. And he said, Dad, if you get the X, can I borrow that and trailer a couple of cars back to Colorado with it? And I said, okay, Kyle, here we go again. Now, just like what you did with the Lucid. He said, yeah, a little bit different, Dad. I just kind of want to test it out for the ADAS system. We haven't really had a Model X on the channel in a long time. So we're kind of anxious to get one in the family. But in the meantime, I said, well, what am I going to drive? You know, I'm going to sell I'm going to trade in the Model 3. And, oh, by the way, Tesla's going to give me $33,300 for this car, which I think is pretty good because, I mean, new, you can buy one for $38 and then get a federal tax credit of $7,500. So, well, 38 plus delivery of $1,390 plus the $250 delivery. I mean, they're basically 40 grand if you buy the cheapo one, you know, the midnight silver one with the black seats. But look, 33.3 is pretty strong, I think, for, you know, as a trade-in value. And what I would be doing is saving the tax on the X of 7.75%. So that's the equivalent of me getting about $36,000 for this vehicle, which is great. So anyway, back to the X. So if Kyle borrows it, I said, well, what are you going to let me have? And he said he's going to let me take the Tesla Model S Plaid, which I would love to make some content with that thing. So we'll see what happens. I think that there's a lot of moving parts here. Appreciate everyone's sort of taking the journey along with me. I make changes in cars very often, as a lot of you know. I've done it my whole life, and I'm continuing to do it now. And it's a lot of fun for me because we're able to really spend time with these cars and get to know these cars and test out these cars and make the kind of detailed videos for you that I think is of value. All right, so as I wrap up this video, I'm hoping that maybe this transparency is helpful for some of you. Maybe most of you don't care, whatever it is, but you know, I do have a lot going on in my personal world. I know that a lot of you listen to what I say and make buying decisions on that. Please reach out to me on my email if you have any personal questions. For those of you that have done that, you'll see that I get back to most of you very quickly. And just because I do something, that doesn't mean you should do something, right? Keep in mind, EVs right now, in terms of the state of play, it's not for everybody. It's not for use cases where you've got big, heavy towing to do, or if you know, cold weather, there's lots of different things. If you've got range anxiety or charger anxiety, you know, if it's right for you, we want to be here to help answer your questions. And then in the meantime, I'm just going to continue to share my journey as far as what I'm doing, because there's so many cars out there. But right now, I feel like I'm taking a little bit of a break from CCS, and I'm just going to go pure Tesla, and we'll see. I will definitely be back in some of the other vehicles. The Taycan, love that vehicle. I will definitely own one of those at one point. Maybe if they've come out with a brandy new one, then the pre-owned ones will tank in value, and maybe I'll pick one of those up at some point in the future, especially the Cross Turismo. Love that vehicle. It's just gorgeous. But anyway, appreciate everyone listening. Hopefully this transparency was helpful, and reach out if you have any questions. In any event, have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for watching another episode of Out of Spec Dave. Take care now.